guys, welcome back to Call It Like It Is. Today I have a special guest, my cousin. She's here with us talking all things flight. This is Naomi.
Hi everyone.
She works for an airline. She's kind of going to go through things that we as passengers might not know. She's actually a flight attendant. So we're going to get into this.
Or how they used to call it, stewardess.
Hell
back
yeah.
in like the 60s.
She hates that term. Don't ever call her
don't
that.
ever. Automatic block.
And we're actually enjoying some wine today. So you'll be
Cheers to
hearing
that.
us chat it up. So how long have you been working at the airline?
So I just hit 8 years in December. And
Wow.
it has literally flew by.
8 years. Now, does that include like when you first started?
So I started at 18 as a gate agent in 2011.
Oh.
And I just like fell in love with the airline ever since then. So here I am now.
Here she is, 8 years old.
Flying for 8 years.
Now, here's another question. I don't know. I feel like you get asked this a lot, but how's your typical schedule like as a flight attendant? Like, how does it go by the days, the month?
So every day, every week is different. It's not like a typical office job. You know, our office is 30,000 feet in the air.
Right.
And we're on and off a new office every single
Day.
like up to 3 times a day. I'm on like a different airplane. So for the month, we bid whatever we prefer. So it's like our dream list of where we would like to be, you know.
Okay.
But then it gets awarded by seniority. So some months, let's say hypothetically in December, there's no people that are more senior than me that ever want to fly Europe. And I bid for Europe. This is so hypothetical because I barely go to Europe. But if they wanted to take like a month off, let's say all 10,000 ahead of me wanted to take a month off in December, and I bid for Europe, you get Europe. But for me, it's more like I'm flying 3-4 flights a day, and it's just like hopping around domestically or in the Caribbean or, you know.
Just nearby.
Yeah. So it'll be like anywhere from 1 hour to like 3-hour flights, or you could do like long haul, like 6-hour cross country flights.
Oh.
So it's different. So you have your preference, but you get your schedule by seniority a lot.
Okay, so the next question I have though is when you travel to all these places, do you actually get to enjoy that time off? Like, is the layover long? Because some people think the layover is long. You're in a new place, you enjoy the time or whatever.
So when I first started in the beginning, we had a lot of long layovers. So I would go like to Seattle, for example, stay there 24 hours, and then...
That's long?
That is long, girl. That's like, yeah, I land, I take a nap, then I like Google where I want to go see all the touristy hotspots and all that.
Okay.
But we've had a lot of changes. Like, you know, the airlines are constantly changing. They go for demand of the routes and stuff that they need. And depending on certain cities that you're flying in and out of, start 6 in the morning, you know.
Oh, okay.
So nowadays, they're short. It's like anywhere from 10 to like 13 hours in a city. So if you're lucky, you'll be able to enjoy maybe an hour, 2 hours of sunshine in whatever city you are.
And then you have to get back on the
Yeah,
plane.
you could probably like walk somewhere near your hotel, get some breakfast, and then you're right on an airplane again.
Oh my god, that sounds not that great. That part,
I mean,
you don't get to enjoy it too much, but you get to enjoy a hair.
Yeah, a little bit. Depends. Again, like,
Yeah.
it's all seniority. There's so many different lingos, you know, like layovers for like passengers.
An hour, 2
yeah,
hours.
like I'm laying over in this airport. So for me, layovers are like what passengers call overnights.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and like different airlines have different lingos too.
Really?
Yeah, like I have a friend
I didn't
at a
know that.
different airline, and he calls like flying from the U.S. to Europe.
Right.
He calls it something way different than like what I call it.
Really?
Yeah.
So what, like, how is it a different lingo between you and the other, and your friend?
So, for example, he flies from the US to anywhere in Europe, and he calls it something way different. Like, we have everything's an abbreviation for us. Like, down to the airport city codes, it's like Newark EWR, you know? So, everything is a lingo. He calls, like, the transoceanic. I call them transatlantic.
Oh,
but I guess his is more like a generic, so he could fly from the West Coast over to Asia.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Layovers is what you would think of an overnight.
Oh,
but we call it layovers.
Got you. Yeah, that's totally different, because when I think layovers, I'm definitely thinking like, oh, I have to wait like an hour or two at such airport and then move accordingly from there.
I guess with our short overnights, that's what it does feel like anyways. Because there are nights where I'm like, get in my hotel, get undressed, shower and all that, get my nighttime routine, and then wake up. As soon as my eyes are open, I'm already like getting ready for work.
Yeah. So what time is your typical start time for work? Is there like a routine wise? Because you guys start early, you guys start in the afternoon. What is it?
So I could bid for trips that, like, if I'm feeling like I want to wake up early every day for the week and, you know, get my day going that early, I could work anywhere from 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. Or I could bid trips with afternoon sign-ins. So, like, lunch. Honestly, it's like, it depends what you're feeling.
Oh, that's cool.
It's a very flexible job, so I'm very thankful for that. It's so different.
It's so cool, though.
Yeah, and if, like, I'm going through a phase where, like, I don't know, maybe I watch too much Netflix till, like, 3 in the morning. I'm like, okay, I want to work, like, afternoon night trips from now on, since I'm, like,
staying up late.
Since I'm like, my time clock, my body clock is like staying up.
Your circadian rhythm.
Yeah, exactly what she said.
That's so cool. I was gonna ask you, you know, like when there's turbulence and stuff like that, how do you feel about turbulence? And do you feel like, can someone really get injured off of turbulence?
So I experienced my first turbulence within like a month that I first started flying. And I kid you not, I contemplated quitting because of turbulence, because I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what was happening. And during the winter time, flying anywhere like Midwest, or like if you're over like mountains and stuff, the turbulence is horrible. But like, even if you YouTube some injuries, if you see a lot of international carriers that go through like 10-14 hour flights and stuff, they absolutely get like turbulence, and people get injured. Our union tells us there's like anywhere from 500 to 1,000 claims of turbulence injuries.
Wow, that's
per year.
Interesting. Yeah. Don't get hurt, guys.
Exactly. So when we tell you to wear your seatbelt, we mean it. Because we're there too, strapped in. So don't ask me for water when it's turbulent.
Yeah, that's true. And that's crazy. I would never think that there is actually that many people that actually get hurt.
Yeah, so our pilots too try to warn us if they can ahead of time, but then there's like airspace that they just don't know, or like no other airplanes in the sky had reported it.
So, along with turbulence, and now that I know this information, what is, I guess you could say, I guess I would say, what is one thing you don't recommend from the plane? One thing you personally, like, it doesn't have to be all flight attendants that think this way, but like, what's one thing that you personally don't recommend?
I personally like to have my coffee in the terminal before I get on the airplane.
Okay.
So I recommend just having your caffeine fix before, because, you know, I like to see where my water source comes from.
That's true, and you don't know those pipes in the airplane. Like, how old are those planes and all that? So.
Yeah, I've had, like, maintenance people come up to me, like, if I'm on the plane and they're on there just doing their whatever checks. But, like, they've told me before, like, where I'm based, I've had one on the employee bus tell me one time that he's seen frogs.
Oh my!
Like, on the ground while they're cleaning the pipes out or whatever they're doing.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, so like ever since then, it like scared me off.
You're like,
unless I'm like desperate and like working a 10-hour flight, which rarely happens. Right. But if I'm like, all right, Naomi needs some caffeine or sugar or something, then I'll be like, all right, I'm gonna take like a 2-sip kind of thing. Yeah. I just don't drink airplane coffee.
I get it. I get it. I think you told me that one time long ago, and ever since, I never bother drinking like tea or coffee on a plane unless I see them pouring it out of a water bottle. Like, I just won't ask for a drink.
Yeah.
Or if it's like a soda or
it's
juice.
True. Like, even my coworkers, a lot of us like try to meal prep and stuff, and a lot of us have like portable tea kettles that we bring with us.
Wow.
So we'll plug it up wherever if we really want our coffee. We have like an instant coffee or whatever.
Right.
And we boil our own water because we can see where it came from.
That is hilarious.
Yeah, girl.
Oh my goodness. Well, guys, now you know. She recommends don't drink the water off of a plane. At least for her personally.
Yeah.
Since you've been doing this for so many years now, what is like one thing that you probably dislike about working in your field of what you do, if you have any?
I mean, yeah, luckily we don't work with the same people every day, but it's like when you go on a trip, you're either there for like anywhere from a day to 4 days.
Right.
So if you don't get along with your crew, you're like, okay, well, I have to like suffer 10 hours a day with you, or whatever the case may be.
That sucks.
There's many things that I can list. Mm-hmm. One of them being that, you know, I get like people with delays and stuff. They get frustrated and all that, but I feel like sometimes it makes them forget like respect for other people. So we definitely get a lot of like the blame or like, you know, their reactions, and I understand they're upset and all, but it gets tiring after years, you know, like dealing with the same over and over. Things happen. You're flying in a metal tube that goes 30,000 feet in the air, and if you think it's going to be perfect every single time, you're highly mistaken.
Right.
Like, plan ahead. You know, we all learn from our travel experiences. Like,
I definitely noticed that. I had my first layover, I think, when we went to Utah. And that I definitely noticed because I definitely picked one that had maybe a shorter layover. It was still like an hour and 15 minutes, but it was an hour and 15 minutes that was too short because my plane landed later than it was supposed to. Mm-hmm. So you saw me like running down the freaking... I don't even know what they're called.
Sweating.
Yeah, just sweating to get to the next gate because I'm like,
your adrenaline's like on 100.
Yeah, and when I got there, they were literally boarding.
Yeah.
So 1 hour my ass doesn't exist because by the time you get off the plane, by the time everybody gets off the plane, it's like another 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God.
I know. People take their sweet time. But also the thing is, like, when one thing goes wrong, there's so many things that can go wrong to cause a delay. Like, the list is so endless. Sometimes when you land somewhere early, but you're sitting on the runway because your gate's occupied, it's like, all right, just hope they're not on a maintenance thing. But
oh, shit. I didn't know.
It's a whole process, for sure.
Who would have thought? So, what is one of your best trips? Like, obviously, you've traveled. We know that. But, like, what is, like, maybe one of the best trips on the job, I guess you should say?
So, on the job, Cancun's definitely high on my list.
Okay.
I haven't been in a long time, but when I first went, I would like bid those trips constantly because we get, you know, we're set up in a really nice place on the beach, and it's like super, super
relaxing.
Super nice, yeah.
Yeah,
You'll wake up and like you open your balcony, you see the pool, the ocean. There's like jet skis out there.
That's so nice.
And it's Mexico, so you know you're gonna have the best margaritas and tacos.
I love margaritas.
I know you do.
So, what's your biggest pet peeve of like a passenger or something like that?
I try not to let things get to me.
Yeah.
But there's times where, like, again, like bringing up delays again, like I worked a flight out of Milwaukee recently, and the night before we were delayed because, you know, the winter time, there's like weather everywhere, and it affects where these airplanes are and if they get to where they need to be for the night, for the first flight out in the morning, wherever. So literally, I remember working out of Milwaukee. We finished our beverage service, and as soon as we were done, literally these call lights start ringing, like talking about delays. I know, like, people don't know this, but I have passengers who think like, oh, can you call the gates and so-and-so city and have them like hold the airplane for me.
I can't believe passengers actually think they can tell you to, oh, please hold the gate for me. Blah,
Yeah,
blah.
like as much as I would love to help them out by doing that, there's no like, just imagine if we had the phone number of every single gate in every single airport. Some airports have 50, 60 gates, you know.
You hear that, people? Do not be asking them to try and call another freaking site to hold the plane. Ain't nobody holding a plane for you.
I mean, exactly.
What does it take for someone to actually get kicked off of a flight? Because I see so many videos and I'm like, come on.
Especially lately, it's scary. It's insane.
Yeah.
Actually, for us, we actually had a girl get her nose broken like 3 months ago.
What?
He literally went to the girl in the back and broke her nose, like punched her. They had to divert the plane. They landed in a city that they weren't supposed to be landing in. He was rushed to the hospital and everything.
What the?
Yeah. So
he broke her nose?
He broke her nose. Yeah. So that is something you don't do unless you want to get kicked off or like walk off the airplane in handcuffs. But if, you know, you're intoxicated and we notice that from the get-go, we cannot let you fly because I don't know if you know, you feel the like the alcohol 3 times more when you're in the air.
Shut the fuck up. I didn't know that. Intoxication. Fighting.
Fighting. There's a rule that we watched the video that if we smell like a foul odor or alcohol, whatever it may be, we just notify the captain, and that is actually something that you can take a passenger off for.
Don't stink, guys. Just saying.
I'm dead.
When you fly, like let's say South Korea or wherever you're going, when you hop on a flight, people think you just get to hop on, hop off, like do your thing.
Yeah.
Like, is it really like that? People need to know.
Oh gosh,
no. Like that?
So it's funny because we have these little quotes and stuff. It's like, marry me, fly free. So it's like a little, you know, it's true. We do fly at a really great price. Like most of the time.
Right.
Internationally, I pay taxes and stuff. So it's
That's
like
nice.
The country's tax. Again, for our lingo, that's called non-revving. So non-revenue. We're no revenue to the company, you know?
Oh, it's just like a standby kind of thing.
It's a standby. So you have a website where you can check what seats would be available, what's the better time for you to stand by. There's a lot of times, like especially when I come here, I'll have to take a jump seat, which is, if available, I'll occupy an extra flight attendant jump seat.
Oh.
Just to get where I need to go. Non-revenue is that.
That's how you guys fly. It's not, I get to just get on a flight and go.
No, not at all.
You gotta fight for it.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, in a way, in a sense.
So, I have another question. With
Ask
COVID
away.
and everything going on, even before COVID, do you guys really disinfect the aircraft? Like, do you guys really sit there and wipe down every tray table?
So, that has never been a flight attendant job, at least for, like, for the airlines that I know of.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
Did you guys know that?
So we actually have either like subcontracts with cleaners and cleaner companies. But I would just say, you know, you're sitting at an airport, you're staring out the window, you see the plane land that you're about to get on. And if you look at your watch and you're like, wow, like that was really fast for that plane to like deplane the passengers that it just brought in.
Right.
And then to get us on board, like,
did you really?
How much cleaning do you think actually happens on there?
Probably none.
I mean, you won't see like any wrappers left over from anyone else.
So what's the craziest thing you've seen or heard, like, while on the job, like while you're doing your thing?
Craziest? I mean, gosh, where do I begin? I'm gonna say creepiest. I remember when I first started, the pilots weren't used to having like fresh faces in the company because the company hadn't hired since like 9/11. Like it was like
a while
plus 10-year gap or whatever.
Right.
So some of these pilots were like super creepy and disgusting.
No way.
Yeah. Certain aircrafts, like there's one called the DC-10 that doesn't exist anymore, but it was like a downstairs. They had a downstairs area, so you can just imagine like
the shit that went
the
on.
craziest things that have gone on there.
Oh my god,
that was creepy, but craziest. I mean, I've seen videos like on my own airline that I work for of like couples coming out the bathroom, the same bathroom stall. They'll come out one by one. And it happened, like the one I'm thinking of right now, it happened on a night flight. I don't know where they were going, but obviously the cabin was dark. A red eye, exactly.
Those stalls are so damn tiny.
I know. Sometimes my knee is touching one side of the wall and my other knee is touching the other side.
That's what I'm saying.
It's crazy.
How do people get to join the Mile High Club? You must be the size of this freaking wine bottle, because there's no fucking way.
I know. I mean, I seriously don't know.
What is, I guess, the worst seat on the plane? I mean, we might all know the answer to this one, but let's see.
Definitely anywhere near the bathroom. Yeah. Hands down. I mean, and it sucks because that's where all the flight attendant jump seats are.
What is, like, I guess the best part of being a flight attendant, for you at least, because I'm sure many other flight attendants feel however they feel about it, but what's yours?
For me, I think the number one that sticks out right now is how humbling it makes you at times.
Okay.
I live such a fast-paced life, so I forget to, like, sit back sometimes and, like, appreciate or, like, acknowledge certain things.
I have a question. So now it's going to bring me back to the things I talk about on my podcast.
The nitty and gritty.
Yes. So as a flight attendant, obviously you're meeting, like, so many people and all of that. Have you ever, like, flirted with a passenger or had a passenger kind of like flirt with you, exchange numbers? And do you have to be discreet about it? Is it weird? Like, how does it go? I want to know the tea. And have you gone on a date with any of the passengers in your life?
So I've gone to Disneyland with a passenger before, and it was for funny. Like a food and wine festival.
Okay.
He was so sweet. He was from DC, but I don't remember like what route I was working, but he had traveled a lot, so it was really nice to like have someone to talk to that like understood the industry and like you know, all that. But I have a friend who, she was told by a senior mama, and for us a senior mama is someone that's been at the company way longer.
Yeah.
She had a senior mama recommend to her to, this is pre-COVID obviously because we don't have much alcohol on the plane. But she recommended her to give a beer to whoever she thought was cute, put the little plastic cup on top, and in the napkin, write her phone number in. Her first try, it was a hit. They went on a couple dates after that. This is years ago.
Out.
But yeah, like the senior mama had some great wise advice.
So your friend gave a number out. Have you ever given a number out to like a passenger that you thought was? And how do you do? You do it on a napkin too? You just like slide over a napkin? Or?
The times that I've experienced it like came naturally. So it's like, oh hey, you know, we'll talk about whatever things in common. Most of the time, it's whoever has a pet. Like, I'm like, oh, you have a dog? Like, how cute. So I'm, like, flirting with the dog. And then, like, we get talking. So I actually gave a guy who lives in New York, and he's like, yeah, like, whenever you're in town, da-da-da. And it's so natural. I'm like, oh, yeah, absolutely. Like,
so do you feel awkward because you're standing there, or is this usually, like, at the end of the flight?
Oh, I could care less. I'm like, if you want to do it in the middle of the aisle, I'll give you my number right now. It's fine.
Anything for love, guys.
Yeah.
Well, with that being said, thank you for joining me. This is fun.
Thanks for having me.
And then I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.